Welcome back, tennis fans, to another massive update as we stand on the absolute precipice of tennis history. The red clay of Paris is glowing. The courts of Roland Garros are being swept and watered, and the atmosphere in the French capital is absolutely electric with a singular, shocking narrative that is dominating every single conversation from the locker rooms to the grandstands. We are talking about a seismic shift in the women's game, a narrative so compelling and so utterly disruptive that it has left all of France, and indeed the entire tennis world, completely stunned. The headlines are screaming it, the pundits are debating it, and the fans are already lining up to witness it. Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old prodigy from the Philippines, is not just participating in this year's French Open. She has arrived as a genuine, undeniable contender, and there is a growing, undeniable consensus that she is absolutely ripe to capture her very first Grand Slam title right here on the unforgiving dirt of Roland Garros. This is not just hype, ladies and gentlemen. This is a culmination of a magnificent, meticulously crafted ascent that has seen her shatter records, defy expectations, and carry the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders. Think about the sheer magnitude of what we are witnessing. For decades, the Southeast Asian tennis landscape has been waiting for a superstar of this caliber, someone who doesn't just show up to major tournaments, but someone who arrives with the weaponry, the mentality, and the sheer force will to completely dismantle the established hierarchy of the WTA Tour. France is shocked because the traditional clay court powerhouses are suddenly looking over their shoulders at a left-handed powerhouse from Manila who hone her craft under the scorching Spanish sun at the Rafa Nadal Academy. The whispers that started in the junior circuits have now become a deafening roar on the professional tour. Let's talk about the phenomenal season she has put together in 2026. This has been a year of absolute breakthroughs, a year where Alexandra Eala stopped knocking on the door and simply kicked it down, breaking into the top 30 in the world, achieving a career-high ranking of world number 29 back in March. She became the highest-ranked Filipino player in the history of the WTA Tour. That alone is a monumental achievement, a legacy cemented at just 20 years of age. But for Eala, it is brutally clear that simply making history for her country is no longer the ceiling. It is merely the foundation. She started the year with an unbelievable run to the semifinals in Auckland, and since then, she's been a fixture on the biggest stages. We have seen her draw a capacity crowd in Melbourne, Manila, Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Dubai, with lines of passionate Filipino fans wrapping around stadiums, turning every venue into a home match. The level of stardom she has achieved is completely unprecedented, and it has sent shockwaves to the European tennis establishment. They are frankly astounded by the aura she brings to the court and the legions of fans that follow her every single move. And now, she brings this massive momentum, this absolute tidal wave of support and self-belief, to the grandest and most grueling stage of them all. The French Open is not just a tournament. It is a physical and psychological war of attrition. It demands relentless stamina, tactical genius, and a tolerance for suffering that breaks even the greatest of champions. And this is precisely why the French tennis community is so deeply fascinated and slightly terrified by Alexandra Eala's potential this year. She is playing her first full clay court season at the highest professional level, and she is showing an adaptation speed that is nothing short of terrifying for her opponents. She has taken the lessons learned from the hard courts, combining them with the relentless, grinding ethos instilled in her by Rafael Nadal himself, and synthesizing it all into a devastating clay court game. The entire nation of France is watching, captivated by this narrative. Can the prodigy from the Philippines conquer the clay? Can she navigate the treacherous draws, outlast the seasoned veterans, and hoist the Coupe Suzanne Lenglen? The tension is palpable, the stage is set, and the world is holding its breath. We are about to dive deep into exactly why Alexandra Eala is primed for Grand Slam glory, analyzing her season, her tactical evolution, and emotional fires that are fueling her march to the top. Stick around, because this is a deep dive into the making of a future tennis legend. To truly understand why the tennis world is currently vibrating with the anticipation of an Alexandra Eala triumph at Roland Garros, we have to meticulously dissect the anatomy of her 2026 season and the fundamental evolution of her game. This is not a sudden, inexplicable flash in the pan. This is a highly calculated, systematically built rise to the sum of the sport, heavily influenced by arguably the greatest clay court player in the history of tennis. Let's start by looking at her foundational roots. Since she was 13 years old, Eala has been a prize student at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. You do not spend your formative teenage years under the watchful eye of a 14-time French Open champion without absorbing a very specific, incredibly demanding ethos. The core philosophy of that academy is not just about hitting a heavy topspin forehand. It is about learning to embrace suffering. It is about understanding that to win on clay, you must be willing to endure physical pain and mental exhaustion longer and better than the person across the net. Eala has internalized this mentality. We saw it vividly during her recent clash in Rome against Poland's Magdalena Frech, where after securing the first set, Eala found herself in an absolute dogfight in the second. What did she tell her team afterwards? She explicitly stated that she was not finishing the points tired enough. That level of self-awareness, that craving for physical exertion, is the hallmark of a true clay court warrior. It is a mindset that cannot be taught overnight. It is forged in the fires of relentless training. Tactically, her game is transitioning beautifully to the unique demands of the red dirt. As a left-hander, she possesses an inherent advantage that has historically paid massive dividends in Paris. Her aggressive baseline game is anchored by a left-handed topspin forehand that bites into the clay, pushing her opponents deep behind the baseline and forcing them to play defensive, high-bouncing replies. This allows Eala to step inside the court and dictate the rallies, an absolute necessity on a surface that otherwise neutralizes power. We must also highlight her incredibly consistent two-handed backhand, which she uses not just as a shield, but as a surgical tool to change direction and open up acute angles. However, the most lethal aspect of her game right now is arguably her return. Because the clay slows down the serve, anticipation and court positioning become paramount, and Eala's return game is currently operating at an elite level. She reads the server's intentions brilliantly, often neutralizing big first serves and immediately seizing the offensive on the second. Yet, any objective analysis must address the areas of vulnerability. And for Eala, the glaring target on her back has always been her serve. It is the one shot that analysts, including legends like Martina Navratilova, Andrea Petkovic, and Greg Ruzetsky, have repeatedly pointed to as the missing piece of the puzzle. While she excels in the baseline exchanges, her serve has historically lacked the sheer pace and the crucial variation needed to earn free points. On hard courts, this weakness is often masked by the speed of the surface, but on clay, a weak serve is an invitation for the opponent to crush the return and immediately take control. But this is where the 2026 evolution comes into play. Eala and her team have been working obsessively on generating more power from the ground up, incorporating stronger leg drive and a more fluid throwing motion to add speed and kick to her delivery. If she can consistently land a high percentage of first serves and effectively mix in a heavy kick serve out wide to the ad court, a classic lefty weapon on clay, she will drastically reduce the physical toll of her service games. We must also contextualize her recent match play leading up to this Grand Slam. Her journey through the European clay swing has been a masterclass in adaptation. Tournaments in Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, and Rome yielded a balanced mix of wins and losses, precisely the kind of grueling crucible needed to find one's footing. In Rome, she pushed the former Wimbledon champion and world number 2, Elena Rybakina, in a tense round of 32 encounter. But perhaps the most telling match of her preparation occurred just days ago in Strasbourg, where she engaged in a spectacular, nearly 3-hour marathon against a Ukrainian qualifier, Alexandra Eala. Eala ultimately absorbed a tough 3-set loss in that opening round, falling 6-3, 5-7, 3-6. But let us not view that loss strictly as a negative. It was a stylistic war. Eala, fueled by the immense emotional motivation of playing in front of her father, who was on leave from the Ukrainian army, played the match of her life, utilizing incredible variety to disrupt Eala's rhythm. Eala was forced to adapt to slices, drop shots, and looping defensive balls. She carved out leads. She fought back from double-break deficits in the second set, and she displayed tremendous grit. While she didn't get the win, that nearly 3-hour physical and mental test is exactly the kind of battle-hardening experience you want immediately prior to a Grand Slam. It exposed areas that needed fine-tuning, specifically dealing with opponents who refuse to give her pace, ensuring she arrives in Paris completely awake to the tactical challenges ahead. Beyond the singles court, There's a fascinating subplot to Eala's Roland Garros campaign that is generating massive excitement. She is set to team up with the rising Canadian star Victoria Mboko for the women's doubles tournament. This partnership is intriguing not just for their combined firepower, but for the crucial match play and court time it will afford Eala. Playing doubles on clay is an exceptional way to sharpen volleys, improve service placement, and get deeply accustomed to the geometry of the Parisian courts without the crushing pressure of a singles match. And speaking of doubles, let's take a brief moment to acknowledge the sheer historic aura of this year's tournament, which sees the return of the legendary 45-year-old Venus Williams to the Roland Garros doubles draw after a 5-year absence. The presence of icons like Williams sharing the same locker room space and practice courts with a new vanguard, led by Eala, creates a beautiful bridge between tennis eras. Furthermore, we cannot analyze Eala's prospects without understanding the monumental cultural wave she is riding. She is not just playing for ranking points. She is spearheading a genuine Southeast Asian tennis revolution. This is a region that has been starved for a legitimate Grand Slam contender, and Eala, alongside Indonesia's Janice Jen, who is also making her Roland Garros debut this year, is completely rewriting the script. Eala's phenomenal success has turned her into a megastar. We are talking about a player who led Team Philippines to an undefeated 5-0 sweep in the Billie Jean King Cup, securing promotion with sheer dominance. We are talking about a multi-time SEA Games medalist who captures gold with routine brilliance. This regional dominance translates into a massive global footprint. The fan support she receives is staggering. From her endorsement deals with global giants like Nike and Babolat, to becoming the face of Filipino brands like BPI, Globe, and Milo, to gracing the covers of Vogue and Tatler Philippines. Eala carries a level of commercial and cultural clout that is incredibly rare for a 20-year-old. Just last year at Wimbledon, Nike gifted her a custom hair tie designed as a Sampaguita blossom, the national flower of the Philippines, and released a limited edition shirt celebrating her roots. This level of fame can be a crushing burden for some, but Eala has demonstrated a remarkable psychological maturity. She admitted that earlier in the 2026 season, the sheer volume of fans queuing up for her matches in places like Melbourne and the Middle East left her in disbelief. She spoke about experiencing a period of denial, struggling to view herself as an individual with such massive influence. But she actively chose to break through that barrier, to accept the pressure, absorb the love, and transform into gratitude and on-court energy. This mental shift is absolutely critical. Winning a Grand Slam requires an impenetrable mind. You have to be completely unfazed by the noise, the expectations, and the spotlight. By confronting and embracing her newfound superstardom, Eala has effectively neutralized one of the biggest external distractions a young athlete can face. She steps onto the clay in Paris not just as a highly ranked player, but as a culturally grounded, mentally fortified icon who knows exactly who she is and who she represents. Her physical conditioning is at an all-time high. Her tactical blueprint for clay is crystallizing under the guidance of the Nadal Academy philosophy, and she has experienced both the dizzying highs of top-tier victories and the grounding lessons of grueling defeats this season. All the variables, all the meticulously crafted components of a champion's game, are converging right now. As we wrap up this extensive look into the phenomenon that is Alexandra Eala, the picture becomes incredibly clear. The shock currently rippling through France and the wider tennis community is not born out of disbelief. It is born out of sudden realization. The realization that the future is no longer approaching. It has officially arrived, and it is wearing the colors of the Philippines. We have spent the last few minutes breaking down every facet of her game. The punishing left-handed topspin, the vastly improved court coverage, the tactical nuances she has adopted during this grueling European clay swing, and the undeniable mental fortitude she has displayed in embracing her role as a global sporting icon. We have seen how a young girl who moved to Mallorca at age 13 to learn the art of suffering on a tennis court has blossomed into a 20-year-old powerhouse who dictates play on the world's biggest stages. The upcoming fortnight at Roland Garros is going to be an absolute spectacle. Every time Alexandra Eala steps onto the court, whether it is the sprawling expanse of Court Philippe Chatrier or the intimate, raucous atmosphere of the outside courts, it is going to be mandatory viewing. She is poised to face a draw filled with seasoned clay court specialists, aggressive ball strikers, and defensive masters. There will be moments of extreme adversity, Matches where the red dirt clings to her shoes and the Parisian crowd tests her resolve. But if her 2026 season has proven anything, it is that she is uniquely equipped to handle the chaos. She has the weaponry to hit through the heavy conditions. She has the stamina to outlast the grinders, and most importantly, she has the unyielding spirit of a nation pushing her forward with every single swing of her Babolat racket. This is the beauty of Grand Slam tennis. It is the ultimate proving ground, a 2-week crucible where potential must be transformed into undeniable reality. And as we stand on the eve of this magnificent tournament, the argument that Alexandra Eala is ripe for her first major title is not just a compelling narrative. It is a statistically and tactically sound prediction. She has done the work. She has taken her lumps. She has refined her weapons. And she has earned her place among the elite contenders. The French Open is famous for crowning new queens, for rewarding those who combine raw talent with absolute physical sacrifice. We're going to be tracking her every move, analyzing every match, and bringing you the most in-depth coverage of her Roland Garros campaign right here on this channel. The history books are wide open, and the pen is firmly in her left hand. To all the fans watching, especially the massive community supporting her from the Philippines and all across Southeast Asia, buckle up. We are in for a truly unforgettable ride over the next 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into one of the most exciting stories in sports today. If you enjoyed this comprehensive breakdown, please hit that like button. It really helps push this analysis out to the wider tennis community. Make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications so you do not miss a single update during the French Open. Drop a comment down below and let me know how far you think Alexandra Eala will go in this tournament. Do you believe she will hoist the trophy? Let's get the debate started in the comments section. Until next time, enjoy the incredible tennis to come, embrace the drama of the clay, and I will see you all in the next video.